living. Now, what exactly makes this attractive to investors, and what should you look for before investing in master gated communities? And helping us with this conversation is none other than a developer from Superior Homes. Karibu sana to The Realtor. Kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Anne, and welcome to Green Park. So my name is Clive Ndege. I'm the head of sales at Superior Homes. So basically, Superior Homes, we are a master plan developer who specialize in master plan gated communities, including where we are right now. And we have places in the various areas in the country. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. So just for the benefit of our viewer, you can just tell us, what does the master plan gated entail?
Okay. So a master plan gated community are ideally large residential communities that do combine various aspects of living. That is, you have a home that has amenities around it, such as shops, you have an hospital, and well organized generally. And then the aspect of gated is just to ensure that there's controlled access, to ensure then the people living in these estates are assured of security. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So as what I can get from you is that so many houses are here, but in a gated community. So how does this concept also promote sustainable living?
So, as mentioned, from the definition bit of it is whereby you're combining various aspects where you have schools nearby, you have hospitals nearby, and naturally what that means is then instead of now commuting far to go to school, for instance, kids don't have to wake up so early so that they can get to school in time. That reduces commute time. And if I could look at it from the pollution point of view, when you don't have a lot of commute, then that means then you are contributing towards sustainability. And over and above that is also just to ensure that people have a place maybe to work out. If you have a gym within the gated community, people are promoting, exercising and promoting health living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what is the difference between this master plan gated communities and these gated communities where it's only one single house?
So if maybe you have your plot in a place whereby the amenities are not nearby, then it means now you have to commute to hospital, you have to commute to school, kids have to wake up as early as 4, which is not really a way that you want to have your kid grow up. You just want your kid to wake up like 30 minutes before school time, and they can just walk to school, they can cycle to school. The same way at Green Park, we have a school within, and it's really heartwarming if you see kids just cycling to school instead of having school buses in and out of the estate, because the schools are way far from where people are living. So over and above that, if you want to have shopping, you can just walk to the supermarket. If you want to have a shave, you don't have to drive. You can just walk to the place and get that done. So that is the concept that the well-designed gated communities are bringing together, just to ensure that you have everything within reach. Yeah,
so
self-sufficient, if I can call it.
Right. Yeah. So maybe you can just take that up again for our viewer. You're saying that for a master plan gated communities, usually schools are inside this community. We have hospitals inside this community. What else do we have?
You have a clubhouse, and a clubhouse that hosts a swimming pool, a gym facility for those guys who are into fitness, and even in the same space you have a restaurant, whereby now if you don't feel like preparing a meal in your house, then you can just walk to the restaurant and have that done on that place. But interestingly, we've also accommodated an aspect of office, whereby now you're living in a gated community where your kids go to school within, and then you have an healthcare facility should you need such facilities, and also now co-working space provided within. So meaning everything is just provided within even office. You don't need even a car to move around.
Awesome. So maybe you can tell us, why do you think this way of living, this model of lifestyle is gaining popularity in the country?
Yeah, with the growing population in our country and the rural-urban migration, there is a lot of congestion in areas where we are having all the apartments. But luckily enough, Kenya, we have the middle income earners increasing, and that means they want better living for their families. So you find these are the people will now be moving from the apartments and moving to gated communities, hence creating the demand for gated communities. And by so doing, we're having a lot of developers looking towards that side of gated communities because of the potential returns and value pockets that we see in that.
Right. So let's talk about investments, of course, before we get into what you as developers also put in place. So with this gated communities, this master plan gated communities, what is the profitable investments to investors?
So as a developer, if you choose a good location, which I think I'll come to later.
Is it the developers really who are getting a return to investment, or is it the investor?
So as an investor, you're engaging in it as a developer, whereby you choose a location, and of course your plan is to put up a master plan community. So you can look at the returns in two ways, from the developer side and also the people who are now investing into the gated communities. So from the developer's angle is whereby you choose a good location, whereby the location will be advised by the amenities that are there. So are there good roads? Are there good schools around? Are there good hospitals around? Are there malls around? And that now means then you don't have now to start building an hospital inside the gated community by virtue of positioning the location in proximity to those amenities. So when you do that, the advantage is that the price that you'll charge for a house in a gated community vis-a-vis any other place is higher. That then means now you're reaping big as an investor. On the other side, for people who are buying for investment in the gated community, there's a lot of demand. As I mentioned, the middle income earners are increasing, and they're more or less, for lack of a better word, demanding for good living. So by that good living, they'll want to rent out a place in a gated community, whereby the environment is good for their family. So as a person who has bought a house and you're buying it not to live in it but to rent it out, then you'll fetch a higher rent in a gated community compared to maybe an apartment or any other place that doesn't have that kind of setup. Yeah.
Now, how does now the person buying this house or this place to maybe live in, what are they getting as their investment?
So investments, we're talking about a rental yield of between 8 and 10%, against an average of about 5% in Nairobi, if I can use that as our benchmark. So definitely there's value in a person investing, because when you're also investing, you look at location, the amenities, the rentability of the place as an investor before you make the step to purchase.
So as developers, what are the factors that you're putting into place before putting up a house in a certain community?
So as a developer, the very first thing you do is just to source for the land before you start even now looking at the master plan and allocating various areas. So first thing first, you look at the location and the amenities that are there. How's the connectivity in terms of roads? Because that will really drive the returns that you're going to get at the end of the day. And then once you acquire the land, you get down now to master planning, how you are allocating the green areas, how you are allocating where a clubhouse will be, and then before you do the house. Even when you come to the house itself, it has to be functional. You don't just do the house for the sake of it. It has to accommodate things such as natural light, how people are now, how the spaces are inside the house are connecting to each other.
So what factors contribute to a successful delivery of a gated community? Okay,
planning a successful gated community is a bit different from how you could have done it in any other space. So first things, from the very design stage, you'll just ensure that you are allocating places for things like playground, for a clubhouse. It's not the mundane where we know like people try to maximize the use of land, whereby every small space that you get, you want to put up a structure. So that is one thing, accommodating green spaces, playgrounds for kids to play. And most importantly, you have also to look at something we call the deed of covenant. Deed of covenants, this is just to govern how the neighbor relates to the other for the general good of the whole community. Because you're creating a close-knit community, and as humans, you have to be governed by rules. You could expect people to naturally, behave well. But then when they don't have something to refer to on how to conduct and what is considered acting well, then you find their chaos. So a deed of covenant, guides people. You can do this, you can do this. That's just to ensure that at the end of the day, the community is run well and you're relating well with your neighbor. while looking at the deed of covenant. So deed of covenant is very important, and the deed of covenant is governed by something we call the homeowners association. This is rather, when you buy a house in a gated community, then you do have ownership in a homeowners association, which are people who are selected to now make decisions on behalf of the homeowners. So these are the guys who will collect the service charge and determine what is allocated to what, just to ensure that the estate is maintained well and the standards are kept, while also maintaining, ensuring that now the deed of covenant is followed to the letter.
Mm-hmm. When you're talking about deed of covenant, it's very interesting, and I want us to take a look at that into details, of course, after we come back from this very short break, so stay with us.
Umekuwa katika masuala ya uongozi kwa siku nyingi, lakini sio katika masuala ya siasa, bali masuala ya utetezi wa masuala yanayohusiana na wananchi, kuanzia sera za serikali, na ni jina kubwa ambalo limejulikana katika taifa hili la Kenya, na kwa wakati huu pia amesema kuwa anajitosa.
I know there's a fight to dislodge President Ruto from power, and that's a fight I'm going to take on.
Ni nini ambacho kilikusukuma to be the man you are siku hii ya leo?
Vile walinilea, ule babu wangu alikuwa ananiambia kila mara ni kwamba sababu ya kuwa duniani ni kuhakikisha kwamba unaiwacha bora kuliko ulivyoipata.
Welcome back. You're watching The Realtor, and before we went on that very short break, we were talking about deed of covenant and the importance of this particular concept in master planned gated communities. Now, Clive, you were talking about the rules and regulations. Tell us about what they entail and how you come up with these rules for those living in master planned gated communities.
So on the deed of covenants, without really going much into detail in a very broad sense, deed of covenants will guide on what kind of additions people can do to the house. For instance, a neighbor cannot wake up tomorrow, maybe they've gotten some windfall in terms of money and decide now, I want to put up apartments, right? Because the deed of covenants then prescribes this is what you can add. And before you do any additional structure that is permanent in nature, you have to get approval from the homeowners association, so that then you are not putting up apartments in a place that you don't need to do that. It also speaks to the security. If you have a visitor, then you have to inform the security well in advance, so that then there's some level of control in terms of access. The deed of covenant will also talk about how you're maintaining the aesthetics of your garden and even your house. You can't be in the middle of a well-manicured lawns and yours is not maintained. Most of the time what the deed of covenant prescribes is that if you don't maintain your lawn, the management company will come in, take care of it, and then bill you, so that then you are not hoarding rodents and other harmful things for the neighboring houses, just to mention a few.
So for master plan gated communities, I cannot customize my home or house to my own liking. I have to go with the developer's concept and idea.
You can customize, but up to a given extent, which the deed of covenant allows. For most of the time, you'll find that the external outlook of the house will need to be uniform. Then internally, you can change virtually everything. But then for the sake of uniformity, externally, the house has to look in a given way in terms of design and even the color, the external color that you do settle for. Yeah.
Of course, I understand that there could also be challenges, including that of legal compliance, infrastructure itself, and also just environmental sustainability. So how do you as developers go about it?
Yeah, in the order that you mentioned the challenges on the legal compliance, just to ensure that then you're working closely with the county government to ensure that you are now complying with the approvals, the zoning regulations, and even the documentation that you give into the clients at the end of the day. If I can mention something important is that in gated communities, most of the time, you'll find that clients do not get freehold titles, but rather get leasehold titles. What that helps is that in a leasehold title, a leasehold title is a very detailed document compared to just a one-pager for a freehold, whereby among the details that are included in a leasehold title is now the deed of covenant that I've spoken to earlier, whereby now you sign to what you can do and what you can't do for the sake of now control of how your operations are done in a gated community. That could be very difficult to enforce in a case of a freehold title. That's on that and the legal challenges. When you're talking about now the amenities, just like in apartments, you'll find that there are issues with water, with power, and the likes in a gated community. So how usually developers, we go around it is that, for instance, for water, you'll just ensure then that you have some mechanism of having rainwater harvesting in places which water doesn't occur naturally, rather the rains are not that much, like where we are in Ukambani. Just to ensure that you're having rainwater harvesting formulae and also storage, just to ensure that if there's water rationing, each house has enough storage. For instance, at Green Park, we have underground storage of 10,000 capacity for each house, just to ensure that if you get a flow from the county council twice or even once a week, that can run you until the next flow. And then in terms of power, we have encouraged people to accommodate the solar energy. This is just to ensure that now you're not paying crazy bills in terms of power, and also to ensure that when there are power outages, then it doesn't mean that you can't go about your life, because then you have a backup mechanism. You know, that really rings relevant to people who work from home, because let's say when there's a power blackout the whole day, that doesn't mean that then you'll have to take leave from office or whichever way that you do handle up work if you're working from home. Yeah, basically that.
So a place like at the river where we are right now, the sun is shining so bright. So let's say it's the situation every single day for them. So how do they live? We cannot see maybe trees that can provide shade. So how are they surviving in a manner that wako tu sawa, like they do not mind being without trees? How are you guys ensuring that they are comfortable while living in such areas?
So in terms of trees, it happens that we're in an area that is fairly new, because we just started this less than 2 months ago. So most of the trees are still very, very young and growing. But if we go to the other older phases, you'll find that the trees are very lush, because as an estate, we usually have tree planting exercises and campaigns from time to time, whereby homeowners come together and they will now plant trees throughout the state to foster the aesthetics and also good living as windbreakers. On the sun bit, that the people prefer a hotter environment compared to how the environment could be in a place like Limuru.
Oh, really?
When you grow old, you'll appreciate the fact that being in a warmer environment is advantageous to counter the old age-related diseases compared to being in a colder site.
I hope our viewer will comment on that right there. Tell us if you're convinced. Do you prefer living in a hot environment or a colder environment? Now, Clive, what are the payment solutions or payment options available for people living in master plan gated communities?
So as developers, given the track record also of a person, which I will give more detail about later on, is that you will want to start selling as soon as you identify the parcel of land and you must have planned on what you want to do, and you will start selling almost immediately. Instead of now looking for money, you develop and then you start selling. What that means is that for the person who's buying, they have an opportunity of now having a payment plan. So a milestone payment plan whereby now the payments are moving with the milestone construction of the house. So for instance, for us, once we've identified a land, people start paying immediately, and then our construction period is usually about 12 months. So you'll have an installment payment period of 12 months, whereby you pay 10% down payment, and then the 90% is staggered over the construction period. And that's the one that is really popular with people. But alternatively, people also can go for mortgage financing, whereby you can get mortgage financing from your bank, from your SACCO, from your employer, and whichever amount that you're paying from pocket, that's what you'll pay as a deposit. And then once the house is ready, because how mortgage financing works is that the house has to be ready, or if it's a plot is easy, but for us it has to be ready for it to be charged and all the other mortgage processes to take place. So the financing will only come in after the house is ready. So you pay the deposit immediately when we start engaging if the house is under construction, and then we wait until the house is complete, and then now the financing process comes in. So we have installment and mortgage as the main approaches to payments.
For now houses in master plan gated communities, does one rent to own? Is that option available for people who want to own the house?
Yes, that option is available. As much as we had it initially, but we're exploring on having it in our new projects. But how it works basically is we agree on a percentage that an investor needs to pay, a buyer rather has to pay, before then you give them occupancy, and then the balance is now paid as rent over a period of time. For instance, you'll pay 50% for a 10 million house, so that's 5 million, and then we give you occupancy. It's at that point of paying the 5M that you get occupancy, and then the 5 million will be spread over a period of time with some small interest charge, which you'll be paying as rent, which I think that one works for many people who are looking to turn from being tenants now to homeowners.
Right. So now, just still on that point, if I'm renting to own, I want to own this house. Now, why can't I customize it, even the exterior, to my own liking if I'm buying the whole house?
We do get that quite a bit, because a person has paid for a house and then they're like, okay, why are you restricting, limiting me on what I'm doing? Because if you are to allow people to do what they do wish to do, then you could be having a very interesting concoction of ideas, which will contradict the uniformity that you want to achieve. Because then that could have contravened the very same deed of covenant that people signed to. The deed of covenant is just to ensure that there's conformity to uniformity, and also conformity to ensure that now your neighbor is not affected by your actions in an adverse way.
Yeah. Now, are there housing solutions or houses tailored to different budgets, but now in the same community?
Yes, so in our projects and any other master plan developer, you don't just do one style of housing. For instance, at Green Park, if I can use that as an example, yes, we have a mix of mansionettes, which will attract a younger population, because these are people who can easily scale stairs, right? But that could be different for a person who's advanced in terms of age, who will prefer a bungalow. So we have bungalow options to cater for such. And also in terms of sizes, you have 2 bedrooms, you have 3 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms, depending on the size of the family. So if it's a bigger family, then they'll go for more bedrooms. And if it's a smaller one, then it'll make sense for them to go for less bedrooms. Then lastly, depending on the kind of family that you're attracting, some houses will have servant quarters, some will not have. And for those that do not have, they have that option as an addition that they can add. Yeah, so you have to give people options to pick from depending on their needs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you so much, Clive from Superior Homes, for taking us through master plan gated communities. Of course, we've learned a lot. You can, of course, tailor your house to your own liking, but you cannot. You don't have the luxury of changing the exterior to your own liking. Thank you so much, Clive. This is The Realtor. That's it for this week's episode. Thank you for watching. My name is Anne Odida, wishing you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.